All right, for more on this, let's bring in Wisconsin Senator Ron Johnson, the great state. Senator, good to see you. You know, those who watch Fox, we've seen the failures mentally and physically of Joe Biden over the course of the last 4 years. Many Republicans in the Senate have acknowledged the same thing, but there's been cover for this president by the media, by Democrats. What's the word on the Hill today? What are you hearing from fellow colleagues in the Senate, Democrats and Republicans? Are they behind closed doors acknowledging what all of us have been seeing?
Well, guys, well, the other thing that Fox has been covering is how corrupt the Biden crime family is. So I certainly appreciate that. Whereas the rest of the mainstream media and Democrats have been covering up for Biden from that standpoint as well. Listen, I haven't heard much from Democrat colleagues. They met, both the House and the Senate. They emerged from those meetings. They certainly didn't decide to give him the boot as much as I think they probably would like to. But, you know, President Biden, like Golem in the Golden Ring, it's kind of hard to give up that power. And he sounds pretty defiant. Dr. Jill Biden sounds pretty defiant. I'm sure Hunter would like to see his dad reelected to give him cover when he gets convicted, maybe a pardon. So, again, they're in power. They don't want to give it up. And it's going to be very difficult to pry him from the nomination. He's got the votes. Democratic process. Well, sort of. They obviously prevented Bobby Kennedy from being able to mount a real primary challenge. So, this party that's all about democracy doesn't practice itself. And now they really like to just ignore the primary voters, but it's going to be hard for them to do so.
Senator, you're hitting on something. There have been reports that behind closed doors, it is the likes of John Tester and Sherrod Brown saying that Biden, they do not believe that Biden can win the election. Well, they're up. And they are suffering in trying to get reelected in their Senate seats. And so, of course, they're worried, but it becomes, as Nate Silver is writing, this kind of mutually assured destruction. If they complain about Biden, they hurt his chances, and then as he declines even more in the polls, it hurts all the down ballot candidates. But to your point, Biden should not go anywhere. It was the Democrats and the donors. Remember, Jeffrey Katzenberg said his superpower was his age. And then the liberal lemmings in the media propping up this addled commander-in-chief and saying, hiding what was going on with him. So, yeah, he's your guy. Have at it.
Yeah, well, what Democrat primary voters should have done is they should have listened to Fox News to get the truth about their candidate. They didn't do that. They listened to MSNBC, Joe Scarborough's of the world, CNN. And so they, I guess, apparently were clueless about the mental and physical decline as well as the corruption of the Biden crime family. But had they watched Fox News, they had been well aware of it. Don't know they'd been able to change course. It's kind of hard to unseat a incumbent president. So, I mean, this is a problem of the Democrats' own making. They're probably going to have to live with Joe Biden. The problem for the down ballot races is their base may be so dispirited that just, people aren't going to want to vote for Joe Biden. And so they may not come out and vote at all. And that's going to obviously hurt Senate candidates and House candidates.
No doubt about that.
That's what I hope happens.
Yeah, and they deserve that to happen. They should have called this out much earlier. It was foreseeable. Let's switch gears, though. Let's talk about the Republican National Convention. The last time we spoke, you were urging Democrat officials in your state, our great state of Wisconsin, in particular, Milwaukee's mayor, to help move the RNC's protest zone over security concerns. And now, in a blow to liberal activists, this week, a federal judge has ruled that protesters can't march through a security zone that would have put them closer to where delegates will be gathering. Do you have any updates on the protest, the security, as a Wisconsin senator, the security concerns that you may have for the delegates that are going to come to Wisconsin for the RNC next week?
Well, in the end, it sounds like people in charge of security listen to the concerns. They don't have the gathering site so close. They moved it away. They're obviously limiting the parade routes. Again, not infringing anybody's rights to assembly and peacefully protest. That's fine. Yeah, Sean, you're from Wisconsin. You know, if it's Wisconsin residents, They may be boisterous, but I wouldn't really expect much trouble. My concern would be busting in some real agitators. But again, it sounds like everybody involved in security wants a successful convention. Certainly all of us from Wisconsin, including the mayor of Milwaukee, want people leaving there with a really positive feeling about Wisconsin, Wisconsinites, the city of Milwaukee. We got a lot of security personnel there, so I'm feeling a lot better than I was when we were just relying on that initial security plan that really did concern me.
Donald Trump, by the way, is up by 5 points in Wisconsin over Joe Biden in a new poll. Yowza. Came out
well,
today.
be a little careful. I was up for higher levels as well as way down. So it's going to be a close election in Wisconsin. We need to have all hands on deck, and we need to bank the votes early.
Great attitude. Congressman, today you co-hosted a roundtable, Senator, a discussion with some of your Senate colleagues on the Biden administration's failure to protect migrant children from trafficking and abuse. A Wall Street Journal report has found that under Joe Biden, these children were sent to live with, quote, suspicious guardians in potentially unsafe homes. Can you tell us more about maybe what the Biden administration is not doing to save these children?
Well, they're not protecting them. And this should come as a surprise to no one. When I was chairman of Homeland Security in 2019, one of our 36 hearings revealed the fact that they were selling children, one infant boy, for $84 to have a family unit that could exploit the Obama administration's asylum laws. What he did with DACA. So this should come as no surprise. The New York Times wrote an article: 85,000 unaccompanied children turned over to these sponsors who, let's face it, they're basically turning them over to transnational criminal organizations who are human and sex trafficking. We know that. It's a fact. We had whistleblowers testify to that fact. But the Biden administration doesn't care. I wrote a letter to Secretary Becerra when one whistleblower stepped forward at the end of 2022. The Secretary hasn't even replied to that letter, as we pointed out the evil that's occurring within his own department. So the Biden administration knows this. Kamala Harris was a member of my committee during that testimony of selling a child for $84. But they don't care because they are dedicated to an open border. They caused this problem. They don't want to fix it. They'd like some political cover. But the American people have to understand, the depredations occurring because the open border is facilitating the multi-billion-dollar business model of some of the most evil people on the planet. That's a fact. That's a reality. That's what's so important in November.
When Trump lost allegedly 1,500 kids, they all seem to care about that. But Joe Biden loses 85,000 and not really a peep. Where's AOC crying outside the gates of these centers for these lost children? Senator Ron Johnson, always a pleasure to see you. We'll see you next week in Wisconsin. Looking forward to it.
Have a great night.